Well, we are going to go ahead and get started with Pastor Jean's discussion, his talk tonight. I am pleased to announce everyone has made it through the food line and there is still more pizza. So please feel comfortable enough to get up and just make your way to the back corner if you would like more to eat. Okay, there is plenty of pizza. So I have the privilege of introducing Pastor Jean Rajaonasy. He was born and raised in Madagascar. If you don't know, Madagascar is a country, an island off of the southeast corner of Africa. All right, so if you picture South Africa, head north to Mozambique. Mozambique, turn right across the Indian Ocean and you'll hit Madagascar. All right, Madagascar is a country of about 28 million people. If you were to overlay a map of Madagascar across the United States, you would see it stretch almost from Canada down to the Gulf of Mexico, covering the east coast of the U.S. So it's a large country. Jean grew up in the south, in the rural villages around the town of Aarhus, and that's where we're going to be seeing some of his ministry focus in and around Aarhus. Jean has a wife named Ina, and they have been married now since 2008. Am I close? 2009. They have two daughters. Hannah is 11 and Sarah is about to turn 6. And Jean will get home a day after her birthday. They're eagerly awaiting because when he arrives, they get to have cake and ice cream to celebrate. Jean and I became friends when Jean and Ina and Kim and I and our two daughters at the time were living in Cambridge, England. Both of us were studying there in the city of Cambridge. And we became close friends. We have a construction engineering background that we share, as well as a ministry background now. Pastor Jean was ordained in the Lutheran Church of Madagascar in 2017. And he now is just completing his PhD through the Lutheran Institute of Theology in Brookings, South Dakota. It's an online program, and he has about a year left to finish his dissertation. His goal is to teach as a seminary professor at the Lutheran Seminary in Fianarantsoa, which is a city, one of the 6 large cities in the country of Madagascar. And at the same time, he is the founder and director of House of Hope Madagascar. So while he'll be teaching part-time, the plan is for him to continue directing and leading the ministry House of Hope Madagascar. So without me saying anything else, would you please welcome Pastor Jean.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. And I have to say this at the beginning. I don't want to forget it, to say thank you for your time coming for this presentation today. I really appreciate how you value this presentation. And okay, let's start. House of Hope Madagascar. House of Hope Madagascar actually was born from out of my story, my own story. And there is a kind of a line for that, and that's exactly what we are going to see today. But in this presentation, I will divide it in 4 parts. So we talk about, the first one talk about myself and my family, and second one about my country, and the third one about the Lutheran Church in Madagascar, and the fourth one is about the House of Hope Madagascar. So I try sometime on the slides, I try to go quite fast because of, I hope I can do that, because of time. Yeah, I have only 1 hour, and I hope I can make it. So that's my family, my wife, and my first daughter, Hannah. My wife is Ina, and Sarah. So as Pastor Aaron said, I was born in a village in Madagascar in southeast of the country. And at the age of 7, my parents divorced. And my dad decided to take myself and some of my siblings to even a rural village of Madagascar. That actually it's like about 5 days walk from the town of Hus. We sleep during the night. We sometimes can't sleep in a village also when we walk to get to this village. But there was one time we had to sleep outside because in Madagascar, some village, they have conflicts also. If you come from another village to another village, they think that, oh, you are related to that village, so we cannot welcome you in our village. So that may happen. So it happened to us when we walked there, but it was also fun anyway. So during this time, when we moved to this village, the name of the village is Biharina. It's quite long, and there was no school in the village. So we had to go like 30 kilometers away. That's like 1 day walk or so to go to school. A bigger village where there is primary school and secondary school. So we could go to this school, but we couldn't come back during every day. So we have to leave my dad's village on Sunday morning. So we didn't have church at the time, and arrive there and return to my dad's village on Friday afternoon because we didn't have class on Friday afternoon at the time. That was the government thing. So every Friday afternoon, kids do not have class. So the life in that village, separated from my dad, was quite different also. And it's very difficult, to be honest, because we live like 7 kids in one room, small room. I don't know, maybe this one is even bigger. That was a very small room. And I believe, I don't know, what did they do actually that with different kids in one? Maybe they rent together. Our parents rent together this small room for us. So we cook our food and we just sleep on the floor. And so we do things on our own. One of the most difficult thing was like when the cyclone came to Madagascar, to our country, and we cannot have a class. That's because the classroom might be damaged or not safe enough for us to stay there. And also maybe the teacher need to work on their farm. So you have to stop until they finish their work and come back again. So there's no school. We often go to a forest because at the time there's still forest around and pick up some fruits and play and things like that, playing in the river, those kind of things what we did. So there's no formal education for us. I had this friend from this place. I think he was related to people working for the government, responsible in the area where the village where we lived. And he was talking about his holiday in capital city of Madagascar, Antananarivo. We call Tana actually. And in Tana, he said that you can't see it. You know, it's not the same like we have here. The building in Tana, because the building in Tana, they built house, and on the top of the other house, there's another house again, and another house again, another house again. And he had a hard time to explain it to us because we didn't believe. All of young boys didn't believe him. We thought that he was just making up things. And then one of the things that he talked about was having indoor toilet in Tana. That was just impossible for us. And all of us against him about the idea, like telling him, that's not true, you should not even talk about that. Because he didn't have the concept of that. But one thing is, because in the village we go to the forest. Sorry for talking about this. It's part of the story, and I think it's nice to talk about it. We go to the nearby forest, and when it's dry and you deal with mosquitoes, so what we do is we collect the dry leaves, grass actually, and put it together and put burning charcoal inside to make smokes. And then you kind of use smokes around you like this to protect from mosquitoes. And then it gets rain also, it's another problem because So we cut banana leaves to use, like as an umbrella. And so I thought about this big problem we had in a village about outdoor toilets. And I thought like, maybe when I grow up, I should look at that and I build my house and have my own indoor toilet. So that was one of my biggest dreams, actually. And another one, because in the village, the teacher does everything. Even somebody from another village has a headache and come, then, oh, teacher, I have a headache, what should I do? And the teacher like, maybe you should use this, because they usually have a stock of medicine. And he does everything, the teacher from the village. And also somebody buy things from another person from the village. So the teacher who writes the contract and read it in front of the two people, like, that sounds right? Are you okay with that? Yes. So sign it. The signature, there's no signature. You have to put blue ink in your fingers like this, and then put on the paper. Or something like that. That's what we did at the time. So I thought that teacher is the best human being that God ever created. And it was my dream also to become a teacher. I want to be a teacher one day. And so those are my two dreams at the time. That's my photo. I just recently discovered this photo. Because after 5th grade in Madagascar, you have to take a government exam. And you have to use photo ID with your application, and we walk one day to get to a place where a camera is, to find a camera. Somebody has a camera to take my photo at the time. And when we arrived in this bigger village, and the man was not there. So my stepmom and I walked back, going home. She said, I don't think you will be able to make the exam this year, maybe next year. And we have to go home, we cannot stay here. And on our way back, and we met the guy with a camera. And then we are searching a place where for me to have my photo taken, and also we have to find a white blanket as a background. We didn't find, nobody in the village has a white blanket. And you use this one. This is actually not accepted by the government, but I just didn't know why they accepted when I got the photo. So we had to wait 1 month to get, maybe even more, to get the photo back, because they have to finish all of the film and send it somewhere, and then send it back, and then he sent mine to my village, waiting somebody to come then and send it. So something like that. After 9 years, my dad went back to the town of Ihus. That's a place where the group of Shepherd of Hill visited last time. And he was about to sell all of his possessions and planning to go back to the village to build a new life and whatever in his mind was. So then he had a problem with my mom's sister, because my mom's sister used to be his wife also at the time. Then they divorced. Then my grandfather from my mom said, okay, I have to arrange my mom to my dad, because it's about arranged marriage. And my mom was 17, almost 17 when she was arranged to my dad. And my mom's sister didn't accept the idea to sell all of the possessions. So they went to courts of justice, and my dad was almost in jail because of that. So he asked us to come to rescue him by just signing a letter like, oh, it's our will that he's selling all of his possessions and things like that. And then that's what the judge needs to have, that kind of paper. So we did that, and he could escape jail. Then when everything was done, and he said, okay, you come back to the village and continue your study. And my mom said, no, no way. And they kind of have problem with that also. And I also said, no, I don't want to go back to the village. And, yeah, but nobody, you can't stay. My mom was very poor, and she was in a village also, not far, I think 9 kilometers from Ihus. And I cannot stay with her. And my dad also didn't have a home anymore because of a problem. She was living with his relatives around the town, like moving from one another. He had quite lots of relatives around, so he was kind of moving around. And of course, we could not stay with him. So the idea was like, okay, you have to go to another village, but it's nearby. It's like maybe 3 or 2.5 hours drive, because there was a taxi bus, what we call like a bus, going to this village at the time. And so I stayed with my aunt, and I could finish my secondary school. I think I was 18 at the time. It was very, very late for me to study in a secondary school, mid-school, but I had to do it, no choice. And so I finished that one, and I moved back to the town because there was no high school in the village. We have to go, there's another problem again. And there was a friend of my dad whom he trusted they had a very good relationship. And they talked about it, and the friend of my dad said, oh, he can't stay with us, it's okay. And so that changed my life a lot, because the man was Christian, and everything I received from him was just the father love, care, and Christian education, basically. We started to have like a prayer before bedtime, before meal, and everything. And that was also the time I knew about having my own plate when I eat my meal, because before that's like a plate like that surrounded by 10 men with kids and adults. And sometimes you don't have space for you to reach the plate. You really have to do like this to get it. So the goal is to feed quickly as possible. It's kind of a survival. Of course, all of that brothers and cousins, but you don't focus on that blood link. You have to feed yourself. And if there is any meat in the food, you have to take the meat first and put it in your pocket, and then finish the rice. And you finish the rice, you might find a peaceful corner of the house and eat your meat. That's what's happening. So it's very bad, but when I lived with my uncle, we had, each of us, there are 4 of us at home, have their own plates of rice, and you can't even add more. And I do believe that they were kind of a patient of my behavior, because I had to learn too many things at the same time, even eating at the table, and all of these kind of things. Yeah, so, but yours, I think that he wants to help me out, and because of the situation of my father. And he tried to give advice and speak nicely and those kind of things. And so I finished my a year before I finished my high school, he died, and it was terrible. I couldn't finish my high school that year because things changed. And I couldn't stay with them, with my aunt, his wife, because his wife said, oh, you know, your uncle is not here anymore, so I cannot have you at home anymore. So you have to go to your father. Then I went to I went out and lived with my aunt. That was like a sister of my mom. And for a short time, because after some time, my aunt, the wife of my uncle, who is just dead, asked me to come back, because she said it's very quiet at home, and it's a big problem, and such and such and such. So I came, but I knew it was not really her desire to have me at home. So my thinking is like, I have to get this high school done. When I finish this, maybe I have a chance to go to university or something like that. Then I did it, and I finished my high school, and I got my baccalaureate certificate. And everybody was happy because I was the first one who got baccalaureate from the family, both my dad and mom. And I was, oh, finally we have somebody have baccalaureate. And they celebrated it, actually. And I know everybody was happy. And then my dad told me that, okay, now we want you, this is very special for us, and we want you to continue your study. So wherever you want to go, we want to support you. And my grandfather from my mom also said the same thing. So I told them that I want to go to the capital city. I want to study building construction in the capital city. I want to change my life. I want to change the life of my family. So I thought building construction is a good way to make more money when you get a job or something like that. So, okay, of course you can go. But one of the reasons I wanted to go to Tana is the indoor toilet. I just want to see. I just want to see the indoor toilet and see this building. Like, yeah, I just want to prove if there is actually this high building. And unfortunately, when I went to Tana, I didn't see indoor toilet. I had to rent a house with my friend, and it was a latrine actually, but at least there's a roof and walls around, and you cannot, you don't have to deal with mosquitoes and things. So that was at least a step forward for me. Then I was in the capital city. So after 2 years of study, I had to stop because my dad said, okay, well, we cannot support you anymore. It's very expensive, and your grandfather said it's your son. You should support your son. It's not my son. And I'm stopping to support him. I don't know, they might have a fight. And my grandfather upset about it and stopped supporting me. And because of education I received from my uncle, and I continued to join a church in the capital city and Christian group, organization. So I was joining the Scripture Union. I think that's an international Christian organization. So I was joining them, and we have a weekly meeting. It's kind of a Bible study, but we do also activity and volunteer work in a town, in a part of a city where I lived. So that was very helpful for me to do that kind of activity. And one day I had the chance I was actually given that responsibility because there was an exhibition for all of the Christian organization and in the capital city, and we had our table, and I was helping with a brochure, and I was like telling people what we do. And when I was telling people what to do, and I saw another organization in front of our table, like doing also work, explaining to people, and I saw this British couple who is the head of the organization, and a Malagasy young man working together with them. And I saw him speaking English very well. And at the time in Madagascar, the tourism was booming. So I thought maybe if I speak English, I can be a tour guide. And so I approached him, and I talked about my desire to learn English, and maybe I can practice it with you guys, and I don't care about money. It's just volunteer work. As long as you have food for me, and when I do my work, and that's fine. And they said, no, we don't do that. So I was like, okay. And I went back to my table and thinking about, actually because I was very shy just to draw back suddenly, so the kind of asking another question not related to English anymore, and so then, oh, thank you, I have to go now. Then I have this 2,000 real. It's like 40, is it cents or pence or whatever? Yeah, cents. So that was the organization gave that to me for my meal, for my lunch. And I went to a small restaurant nearby. And when I was sitting at the table, and I saw another 2,000 on the floor, like, whose money is this? And I took the money, I put it on the table, and I eat my lunch, and waiting somebody coming to take to claim to have the money. but nobody. So I was like, okay, I use this money to pay my lunch, because exactly that was the price of lunch. Then I went back, and when I get there, and I keep watching them in front of me, speaking English, then explaining to people what they do. The organization called MAF, it's Mission Aviation Fellowship. So what they do is like rescuing people using helicopter, using the small airplane, rescuing rich people from villages when they do business there, if something happened to them, or government, also fonctionnaire. Fonctionnaire is kind of a civil servant, something like that, going in a remote place and they need help to quickly to get to a capital city. So then at 4 o'clock, around 4, and he asked me to come, the guy who speaks English. I come. I was like, He was just denying something, and now he's asking me, and okay. And then I went to him, and he said, there is this place in England. It might be good for you if you go there and learn English. It's a Christian center, he said, and it's really good. And she writes maybe like that big piece of paper, the website of a place, Ashburnham Place. And I took it, and I put it in my pocket. The time I took it and I put it in my pocket, I felt like my life was changing here, but not in a reality yet. Like, it's going to happen. It's a life-changing. It's a life-changing. And I keep putting my hand in my pocket like this, just to feel the piece of paper. If it's there or I drop it somewhere, and then sometimes I feel like home. Because in Madagascar it's very warm, so your hand might get wet when you put it in your pocket too long, and maybe what I'm doing is to destroy the paper. I have to take off that's something in my head at the same time. And so we should finish at 5 o'clock, and then he gave me the piece of paper at 4. Waiting 4 o'clock until 5 was like ages for me. I want to go home straight away to type this at the Cyber Cafe and to know if it exists or not. Then I had to take a bus also to get there. That is just, I keep smiling in the bus, and like, it's a life-changing, it's a life-changing. I keep my hand there, because in the bus in Madagascar, it's something like that when you take a bus. Because it's like if it should be 4 seats, they put six people in the same line. Yes, it's terrible. Don't try it when you go to Madagascar. Yeah, don't try it. So then I keep holding it because I don't want somebody pickpocket to get the paper. And I arrived there, and I went to Cyber Cafe, and the money I found on the floor, I used for my lunch, and the money I should use for my lunch, I used for the Cyber Cafe. And I even could print out 3 forms from the application, because I saw it existed, and I printed 3 pages, 3 paper actually, and I used that money for that. It took me 2 weeks to do the application and send it, because they need a letter from your pastor and medical certificate, and also a kind of referee, somebody who knows you and spiritually and physically, and to prove that you are able to work when you get there. So I did all of this, 2 weeks, done, and they send me an email like, okay, after 21 days, you get a response from us. And in 21 days looks like 21 years for me. I couldn't wait. I had to hear what's going on there. And of course, after 1 week, I started to check my email, and this is the waste of money, because they say it's 21 days and it should be 21 days. And 21 days, I saw an email like it's an evening in Madagascar that I was accepted to go for this volunteer work. And I was very happy. I thought I couldn't remember how I left the Cyber Cafe and get home, and I just couldn't, because my mind is really away not like traveling with me or walking with me. And so when then I started and a few days later, they also write back, and they said, okay, but you have to pay for your flight and your visa, but when you get to the airport, we'll be responsible of your life during your stay here. It was like another problem again. Because I had the problem with money, that's why I didn't finish my study, and now. And we tried our best with my friend, but couldn't happen. So what we did was like, I write to them to arrange to them if they can pay my flight ticket, and because we received at the time 30 pounds, British pounds, every week. So I was using my math, like maybe, after 1 year, that can reimburse their money when they buy my flight ticket. And they didn't accept it, but they said, okay, we give you 1 year and to do your best, and after 1 year, we cannot do anything anymore. So I was very scared and what to do, and finally I traveled back to my mom and talked to her, because all of my dad's land and everything was sold, and except that one land that he bought it, but it was with my mom's name. And he attempted to sell it many times, but my mom always refused, no. And anybody come and talk with my mom, then my mom said, no, that's my children's land. I cannot sell that. And then I knew that story, and now I'm going to ask my mom to sell the land. And to go abroad is something out of her concept. Like, what is that? And so many questions I had to answer. And I told them that if I go abroad, maybe if I come back, I get a good job, and I'll take care of my brothers and sisters, and because I will be able to speak English. And so I tried to convince her, okay, so speak with your brother and sister. And I spoke with my brother and sister, and they accepted. And actually, before that, I already contacted somebody to buy the land, but just waiting for a confirmation. So since it was confirmed, and we sold the land, and my mom said, okay, but this is my request. You should look after your brother when you finish your whatever you are doing there, and come back and have a salary or something like that. And so I said, yes, of course. Then we sold the land, and I could pay my ticket, and that was July 2007. And I could pay my ticket, and also visa fee, and also have a bit of money and leave it with my mom. And she was happy, but worried, like, because something she has never thought about, like where I'm going or something like that. So July, I arranged everything. And then September, 13th of September, I was flying to England. But waiting for that time also is like, and then during that time of it, I traveled to Antananarivo, because I heard from many people, if you have a plan, you should not traveling around. You should stay in one place and waiting for your big plan. Okay, that's good. So I was staying in Tana, and I was staying with a family, not my family, but they knew about my story, and you can't stay with us until you go. And then I stayed with them, and I was watching TV, and that was actually the time I really watched TV also. Yeah, and I watched TV, and I saw in Madagascar at the time, after broadcasting the local news and also international news. And also, I was watching George Bush Jr. at the time. That was after 9/11, and he was like moving around and something like that using Air Force One. And I was like, oh, I will be doing like this soon. And seeing him like waving his hand before entering the flight. And I wanted to do that too, just kind of, but I didn't know that he was doing that because he's president. I thought that everybody taking flight should just, bye-bye everyone. Yeah. Then when I get to the airplane, I didn't do it because I knew by the time I took my flight that was not like a, then I just turned like this to see the ground, and I got this feeling that yes. And in my mind, I didn't say it, but in my mind, maybe this is the end of poverty. And because it's just changing my life. So there's a flashback from my life in the villages, poor, and hardly to eat anything. We often just go to a forest, pick up some fruits to add, to kind of a, because you eat, but you don't feel that full. You cannot even feel like how you eat and you're full, but you have to pick up fruits. And now I'm taking an airplane to go abroad. And so that was a very good feeling. So in the flight also, when I got inside, the food completely different. Something I have never eaten before. I think, I can't remember, but I just knew that I was at university when I first ate pizza, first ate ice cream, first ate cheese, all of this kind of food. It's not the food we eat in a village, and even in town of Ihus. So I talk about it with my friends at Ashburnham Place. This is the photo of place, actually, Ashburnham Place. And they're laughing, like, come on, that's not even possible. Pizza at university, that's the first time. Yeah, that's the first time. And so that's a place, Ashburnham Place. It's quite a big place and very nice place. It's helped me also to maintain in faith and even grow, actually. So when I get to England, I was looking for a Lutheran church in England that I can go to church, because that's something I learned from my uncle. You have to go to church if you want to be strong in your faith, or Christian group or something like that. So I was searching on the internet, because at the Ashburnham Place they have computer room. So I could go there when I have a day off, and searching Lutheran church in England, and then I saw an address, and I sent this email to, like, I would like to go to church, and I am doing work here in this address. And then after like maybe a week, and I got a response from them that, oh, there's a Lutheran church actually not far from you, and a pastor of that Lutheran church will send you email. And after 3 days, I got an email from the pastor, and he said he was willing to visit me. And he came, and with his suitcase and with communion, and he gave me communion. I was like, wow, this is nice. Because as soon as I received the communion, and I felt like I'm not a stranger anymore with this man, and this is really good. So I talk about going to church, and most of people and his member of his congregation have car, so they kind of make an arrangement to pick me up from the place to church and drove me back, always like that. During 1 year I stayed in England. And then I talked to them. I talked to, his name is John Ehlers. I don't know if any of you knows him. I talked to him my wish to study theology, 2 years, because I was working at the Scripture Union back in Madagascar, and they were training me to become a leader at the time. But it didn't happen because I went to England. So I wanted to learn theology, because I thought it's very, very difficult if you don't don't understand much about Bible, and you are leading Bible study, and I thought that was difficult. So I spoke with him, and he was saying, because there was another college in London giving scholarship to African students. And we tried to find it, but we couldn't. I don't know why. Then I talked to Pastor Ehlers, like, okay, can you help me to find this place? And what is it? It's a theological college, and they give scholarship, and I want to study at least 2 years, and that's enough. And he said, we have seminary in Cambridge. Why don't you go in Cambridge? But I said, I don't have money. And this college gives scholarship for African students. Oh, don't worry about that. We will make sure you get scholarship if you want to study there. And oh, that's good. I was like, wow, this change is coming. And so they arranged a meeting, interview with people at Westfield House, with a preceptor of Westfield House, and we visited there and prepared lunch for us, and with his baby tomatoes. That was my first time eating that too. So when I eat the baby tomatoes, and then the juice was like coming out of my mouth to somebody in front of me. I was like, and I was like thinking in my head at the same time, oh, bye-bye college. This is a bad sign. But they tried to ignore it. They didn't even look at it. They just kind of keep talking, and I knew they saw it, but they just, and I was very scared and like, oh no, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And, but after 2 weeks, they said, oh, you are accepted. And during the interview, they said, would you like to stay in England and serve a church here, or you would like to go back to Madagascar? And I want to go back to Madagascar, because I starting to have this other view of my country and the life in England, and I really wanted to go back and help. And what I saw from Ashburnham Place also inspired me about going back to Madagascar. And that was the start of House of Hope. And from the ground, we have a clear idea now, but at the time it was just like under a place where the children can eat lunch or something, and they go back maybe to their parents and go to school and something like that. Because that was my main problem. Eating well, go to school. So that's kind of thing going on in my head. So I could go, that's Westfield House. And I traveled back to Madagascar. I try to make it very quick now because time is flying, right? Okay, so I went back to Madagascar, and my sister died that was before the year I went to England, and she had 5 kids. So now when I came back, I was not only, because I collected my money, the 30 pounds, and when I left the place also, they gave us 200 pounds as kind of a gift. Everyone had received that gift. And I don't know, but it was like a week when I left the place, a week before I left the place, somebody gave me money, and they put in an envelope, and they said, for Jean from Madagascar, and they put it at the reception, and I was going to work in the morning, and the receptionist asked me, hey, Jean, come in. This is for you. I don't know what is this. And then I opened them, I saw money, and I was like shaking. What is this? And I went to my room, and I count the money. It was like 500 pounds. Like, wow, what is this? And of course, God is good, is going on in my head and things like that. But a month after when I arrived in England, and in this place, and there was a big meeting of people from around the place, like a conference, and I saw this pocket at just in a place just entering the building, and I took the pocket. It's a lady's pocket. What's in it? My English is getting. Sorry, I'm using English in third language. And if I get tired, sometimes it's kind of yeah. So I went to the toilet to make sure that there's something in the pocket or something. I counted, it's like 300 pounds and with some money in it, like change. And I put it, and I went to my room, and it's like I was praying. Because at the time, my dad, very, very sick. And I heard from them that he was like vomiting blood and things like that. And like, I was like thinking, like, is this a gift of God for my dad and for him to, to send to buy medicine, or what is this? And then I decided, no, I cannot do this. And I brought the money and I put it as a reception. And the receptionist was like, oh, thank you, Jean. The owner of this money just came actually asking if somebody took the money. And I don't know if that is kind of from that story, related to that story, because it was like when we had a meeting, and the responsible of that center was like telling about the story. Oh, there's this happening, and Jean took the money at the reception, and I would encourage everybody to do the same thing also if something happened around our place. And because we are serving guests here, and we want to portray good image of a place and things like that. And I don't know if it is something related to that, but I was very happy with that. With my pocket money, I really could do something with my sister, brother back in Madagascar. Unfortunately, my dad died when I was there. And so I went back to Madagascar. I received my invitation from Westfield House, the college. And I was about to start my study the following year, but we had a political problem in Madagascar. There was a coup, and the British embassy moved away from Madagascar. And then no study. So what I did was this, like finding a job around and meet a woman and a wife, and we got married in 2009. And I talked with the preceptor, that's the head of a college in Cambridge, if we could come together, if I can come with my wife to England, and they said, oh yes. So 2011, we could travel to Madagascar, to Cambridge, and that's our first photo at the time with my wife. And that's so, oh, looks familiar. Yes. He was teaching pizza, how to make pizza, yeah, at the time. Our time together. Yeah, so I stayed in England. We stayed in England for 6 months. Then after 6 months, unfortunately, in April in that year, the British government changed student regulation again. And if you do a bachelor degree, we cannot bring any dependent. So my wife couldn't come the next year. So he stayed in Madagascar for 4 years and a half. But I could visit them every year, and we had our first child at the time. And so it's a challenge also, but Hannah, our first child, was still a baby, and it was not, we think, was not affecting her too much. And we also doing Skype, and she always thinks that her dad is in a TV. Like, so talking about, oh, my dad is in TV talking about this. So this is the place where I stayed in England, familiar to the, maybe to the other people here also. I graduated as a seminarian, and yeah, and also we had the chance to go to England in my grad, because I was doing seminary study at the Westfield House, and also doing external study through London University. And that's my graduation at London University. My family could come also during my graduation. It was a joyful day, you can imagine. And that's my daughter, very proud of her. And yeah, that's the principal at the time, the principal of the Westfield House. Then I applied to study at Fort Wayne Seminary and accepted, but the problem was like, I cannot go with my family. I just have to go on my own again, because I wanted to finish my PhD so that I can teach at the Theological College in Madagascar. And so we tried to find solution, and then we could get scholarship to go to the Netherlands. So I did my master's in the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands, I could go, or could join this young people meeting in Europe, and we had this meeting in Czechoslovakia and Czech. So we went there for a meeting, and could visit Germany also. It was really nice. And I got also my master's degree, and we had very beautiful photo. Okay, so back in Madagascar, 2017, I did my vicarage after my master's degree, and finished my vicarage, and I was ordained as a pastor of a Malagasy Lutheran church. And we started to build this connection again through the ministry with Pastor Aaron, because during our time in Cambridge, actually, he was teaching me English so that I could take an English test to be able to study at university. That was very important for me. And we had like 3 months, non-stop, every day, except maybe Sunday, something like that. And we went to, so that started January, and April, I had to take the exam, and Pastor Aaron and Georgia went together with my wife and my daughter to the exam center. I had delegation with me, so because it's a full day exam, we had just a short time to eat lunch outside of the campus, and then we ate lunch together. We ate lunch together, and I went back to for my speaking exam, because the speaking exam was in the afternoon. So at the time, we talked a lot and do things together, visit London together, both family and also in Cambridge. And we talk about like, okay, maybe one day when you do your ministry and I do my ministry, and we should work together, our both churches. And so I kind of reminded him that when I finished my finished my study, when I was ordained. I didn't have a church to serve yet, because my plan was like, okay, I have to do my PhD straight away. I don't want to wait. But my church assigned me to be responsible for English class, and I was pretending to know English and teach it to people, young people in the country, in the city of Antsirabe. And so we started the ministry in 2017, and Shepherd of the Hill supported my ministry. It's outreach ministry, what I did. I did many things at the time, but during the COVID, we couldn't go anywhere, so we stayed at home. And then my wife and I started to thought about the orphanage again. Maybe we should, because it's lots of money, and it was a discussion like, how can we tell this with them? And if they say, no, we cannot do that, and I don't want to hear that from him. And, oh no, but you know, we just share it with them. And then we started to talk about it, and I wrote email to Pastor Aaron and Pastor Dan about it. That was actually after their visit. We might have talked about it during their visit, 2019, but it was kind of just things, yeah. So, then they, oh, that's a good idea. Okay, if you guys want to do that, and maybe we can look at it. And we have a land, and now somebody's selling a land, and I think it's a good place to do the orphanage. And I think Pastor Aaron was kind of hesitant at some time, because he asked me like, but you know, if we don't do the orphanage, can you sell the land then? And you know, we use the money to a different ministry. And I said, oh, of course. We didn't sell the land, of course, and it's continuing. The project is continuing, and we started to think about House of Hope more seriously at the time, since 2019. But we have, of course, then I started to have these two ministries, outreach, which something I have been doing since 2017, and also thinking about House of Hope. Then a later time, we could have found again to build a perimeter wall around the property, and then last July, we drilled the water well inside of a property. So this is from the last mission. I see a few people here from the last mission, and it's beautiful. Just flash back. We will not stay in this too long. Okay, Madagascar. That's red one, that's Madagascar. And the name is Republic of Madagascar. And that's the size of Madagascar, actually. I don't even have to read it, just kind of. And Madagascar is unique in the sense that we have different kinds of it's animals and plants in Madagascar, which many people from a developed country coming to Madagascar to do their PhD research on the things we have in Madagascar. And that's, I think, makes the country unique. And we have a very nice seashore, and baobab, very famous, and tsingy, I don't know the name of it, tsingy in English. It's a kind of it's a rock, but in this type. Oh, I cannot point it from there. And the east part of the country is still forest, now with forests. And they have enough water there because it's always raining. But the west part and south part of the country is very dry. There, the work I do in the southern part of the country, that's what it looks like there. Very, very dry. And population is from Indonesia. That's how they say this. The first immigrant to Madagascar from Indonesia, and then later time from Arabic country and from Africa. And in 2023, this year, there's 28 population, and we have 25 regions. And one of the region is Ihusi, and that's where House of Hope is built. And we have 18 tribes in the country. You might not have tribes here, but tribes is different group of population speaking the same dialect, and that's at least 18 tribes in Madagascar. And used to be a monarch and colonized by French and got our independent again, 1960. So Christian, 85%, according to US Department of State. And this is because, I have to explain this. When the first missionary from England came to Madagascar, they kind of built a relationship with a monarch at the time. Then they started to teach how to write and how to read, and at the monarch family, and also teach the Bible, and also build a school. Yeah, that's the first school in Madagascar. That's the first school at the time, during the time of a missionary. So the problem was like the government, education, and church kind of always going together. They are separated. There's no state church in Madagascar, but like if you are an important person, if you work at the government, and you have to have a church, it's just normal to show that you are well educated. If you don't have a church, that means you are a villagers, you are not educated, and people look at you like, and that's the reason that the percentage is very high here, because everyone to go to church is Christian. And next one is traditional religion and Muslim, and I haven't even met this one, like non-affiliation, but that's what they give there. So Norwegian missionary came to Madagascar, brought the Lutheran Church in 1866, and they built the first church in Bedaf, nearby my city, in the same year, and that's the church they built, and it's still there at the time, 1966. And the ministry of Malagasy Lutheran Church, evangelization and teaching, we have a Lutheran school and seminaries, and healing ministry. This is the shepherd movement. Some of you might have heard of it. Shepherd, casting demon and praying for people. It's very popular within the Malagasy Lutheran Church. And the challenge is, I feel like we were not prepared for the Norwegian missionary to leave us. And after they left, everything was just, and also political instability, one of the problem, and poverty, of course. Okay, I have to go through House of Hope very quick, because I think Pastor Aaron still adds some information on this later. That's the place we want to be. It's not existing there yet. That's what you want to get done. And okay, we want to. It's an orphanage, and also it's a Christian orphanage. It's not just any orphanage, but it's a Christian orphanage. That's what you want to get. And the plan is to get the orphan children and poor and privileged children into the center and help them to be their family, actually, to be their family. That's my wife and I want to do for them and take care of them so that they can go to school and do their education, but also learn about Christian life. But we don't want to see education and evangelization or the gospel to go together. We want the gospel to be an umbrella of education, because that's a problem in Madagascar. Some people well educated, but they don't have a gospel. They don't have the sense of Christian ethics, and they still do corruption. And so we want to change that practice through House of Hope. Very quickly, let's quick wait. Okay, what is mentioned, and bring up the poor and orphan children and educate them and prepare them for a good Christian life in the future, and share the true love of Christ. So very important for our community, future community. Those are the children from our mission, and this is the children in a village called Masinzara, a very, very poor village, very, very poor village. And we thought that the majority of the children going to House of Hope might be from this village. And okay, this young boy now, there's a land, and the owner of the land planted sweet potatoes. And then the owner of the land had harvested everything, but small boys in the village, in other village, still go there and dig and find some sweet potatoes. And he collected it and put it in his shirt like this and tried. And I met him there, and I asked, what are you doing, and things like that. And I knew what he was doing, but I just want to speak with him, just because sometimes if they don't know, they kind of run away from you. So that's the three of them doing that, the same thing. So I took photo of them, and they like to see their photo there. I think that was their first time to see their photo. So, ooh, this is who I look like, or something like that. And so to go through, that's myself doing baptism in the church of Irina. You have seen maybe the video about the church in Irina. They have even though they are very poor, and if you talk with them, they laugh and smile, and it's very nice to see. And that's one of my joy, that going to a village like this, to seeing them still smiling and laughing, even though the hardship they live in the village. One of the important thing, of course, that we have to do at the village, at the House of Hope, is to give them food, to take care of them, and apart from like giving access to education. That's how we cook food in Madagascar. So this was because we do breakfast project for young kids in a village, give them breakfast before they go to church. And this was the launch of that project. And we cook it outside and bring the cooked food from 11 kilometers and then to the village, because we didn't do it in a village, we did it in Hus. Yeah, that's they have their breakfast. So I didn't want them to have one dish like I used to have, because it'd be difficult. Like, it was like almost like 200 kids. And if you put them in one dish, and even though maybe 10 different dishes, and it's not a good idea. I have to go. I can't see sign from Pastor Aaron. The time is, I'm sorry. Okay. So two partners, House of Hope Madagascar and an American board. Yesterday we started to discuss about it, and we have heard very positive response from some people and how to make this happen. Because we have an idea in Madagascar, we have a willing to do it, my wife and I, and with my team, but we don't have money to do it. So we're kind of trying to, and that's part of the reason I am here. And we're trying to establish how it works. And tomorrow we are also we have a meeting with one of important people for me to learn from them how to make this happen. Because I traveled to Mexico. The first week I arrived in the in the US. And I believe that was not insult. In the US, yeah, in the US. So I traveled to Mexico. Most of you know about EV, and learned from them, from Jerry and his staff. That was amazing. That was really amazing. And I'm very thankful for that. And yesterday, that was from the meeting yesterday. And okay, so the focus, free focus, spiritual education. I'm not going to the details anymore. And also civic and moral education. That's how I translate it back in the system back in Madagascar. And also physical education. This is sport and things like that. I think sport is very important when you bring up children. It helps them to develop mentally and physically, and it's very important. So part of things we want to do. Photo, current need. Okay, I will leave that to you, right? Because my time is up, sorry. Okay, so House of Hope Madagascar had just registered as a non-profit organization in Madagascar last week. That's a very big step for us. So we are now a non-profit organization. That's the signature of the government, and that red stamp is only for the government in our country. Nobody can use the red one. So private organization use the blue one. So when we have our stamp, it will be blue. But for the government, it's red. So that's our identity. They are below there. Our identification number as a non-profit organization. So that's the government will identify us in that number, much of that number, not really the name. Of course, the name and the number, but the number is very important. Okay, somebody is showering here, and that's a wall. And okay, I'm not going to the conclusion anymore. But thank you so much, and I'm sorry for the time. Thank you. Is it working, the sound? Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Welcoming they are and how appreciative they are.
Children are what I love, and the opportunity to go to Madagascar where there is so much need, I just knew that I would need to be a part of it.
I had no idea what Madagascar was going to be like. The hills and the mountains and the green and the ocean and, just all of it was absolutely beautiful.
It's an overwhelming feeling and just an incredible experience being there and seeing the joy that they have.
Pastor Jean grew up in the rural villages around Aarhus. He was one of the kids that he's now trying to reach through their ministry.
The kind of a village where I lived, I remember we had to walk 5 days non-stop to get to this village from the nearest town. I had only two dreams at the time: to become a teacher and to have an indoor toilet. So what I mean here is life in the village lacks almost everything. The situation now in Madagascar for people living in the village is not really far from what I experienced during my childhood.
He gets it, and now, along with his wife, Ina, they're dedicating their lives to this ministry to bring hope to underprivileged kids.
You want to change their life, their whole being.
There's needs on many levels. There's physical needs for just food, water, and basic kinds of shelter. But there's also needs emotionally. But then, of course, there's the spiritual needs.
Only Christ can change somebody's life. But that doesn't deny the power of education also. We think that if those two things combine together, that will shape somebody in a completely different being. And of course, with that hope in mind, that maybe one day a kid from House of Hope become a leader of our country.
The people out there, they surely don't have the finances to do it, but they're willing to do the work for it.
To date, we've helped purchase land for the House of Hope and helped fund the construction of a wall and a gate. Now we've seen the well drilled and the water flowing.
I've never seen adult men play in water like a sprinkler in your front yard as you did as a kid, as I saw in Madagascar when that water flowed. Now that we have the well in, we're looking at completing phase 1.
We need to raise money to get the sanitary block built, which will house the showers and segregated bathrooms for the boys and the girls. And then along with that would be construction of the actual orphanage.
Just speaking in round numbers, it's about $200,000 just to do those two buildings. God willing, we'd be able to continue the project to build out the campus in the future, in the coming years, which would include a school, 6 classrooms. It would include also a cafeteria with a meeting room.
Part of that building also is the upper room is a library for them.
It would also include the construction of a residence for the director and his family.
House of Hope is our identity. House of Hope, we are.
They're simply living out what they believe is their God-given calling in life, to bring hope to underprivileged children. And through Pastor Jean and Ina's ministry, they're letting kids know that they are seen, that they are heard.
If you feel being loved by somebody you think it's special for you, that changes your whole life. We want them to feel that they are part of us, a family.
Being on the grounds of the House of Hope, the night before we were to have all of the children come, all of the choirs come, it was just our group standing there with Pastor Jean in the middle of us, sharing all that led him to this point. And you could just feel the Holy Spirit.
When we walked through the gates, thinking about what the House of Hope was going to do for some of these kids, and just thinking how kids that don't have anything are actually going to have a home to go to, and and then get an education, and then learn to develop a relationship with Jesus, and they're going to have a family that's going to provide for them.
They have so little.
How can we not see the needs and not respond to them?
They're not lacking a vision. They're not lacking passion. They're not lacking a knowledge of how to get things done. They're lacking the funds. They're lacking exactly what I believe we can provide.
So now here's an opportunity to give towards giving some children a life that they would never have if we didn't help them.
Don't get your fancy cup of coffee for a day or two, or skip going through the drive-through one time and just put that money aside, and you're going to give a kid water, you're going to give a kid some bread. More important, you're going to give a kid some hope.
It'll just bring hope. Just bring hope.
So this year with the Thanksgiving Challenge, we are focusing this impact towards the House of Hope in Madagascar. I've said the cost is $200,000. I have no idea if we can raise that through the Thanksgiving Challenge, but I do know that whatever we raise, whatever God gives through you, through our people, it's going to make a huge impact. I do believe we're going to see the ripple effects of this ministry and of our dollars. We're going to see it long into the future.
All we have to do is ask, and our congregation has always given. We have so much, and we can surely give a people who have so little.
You gave us hope, now we have hope.
Can we give Jean a round of applause for his presentation? And could you also put a picture of the future campus on the screen? So I would like to move to a time of questions and answers, hopefully. So we have a microphone that will pass around. If you have a question that wasn't answered, hopefully the video gave you a sense of the nuts and bolts that we're talking about, what the immediate goal is. But maybe if you have other questions, Jean or someone from our missions team could answer. So the picture here on the screen, you can see several buildings on the campus. The overall project, if all of these buildings were to be built, we're talking about $500,000. And the initial phase includes this first building on the lower left, which is the dormitory, or what we're calling the orphanage. And then there's the orphanage. And then just to the right of that, you'll see the sanitary block. The sanitary block includes the water tower and additional bathrooms, restrooms, and other showers as well, and showers. Also, we believe before children can live on the campus, the house for the director will need to be completed as well for a separate living capacity rather than the director living in the same building as the children. So some of the details of this in real time are changing based on Jean's visit with Jerry and Susie McNally down at Living Hope at the EV in Puebla, Mexico over the last few weeks. One of the changes that really makes a big impact was seeing how how the children live in more of a dorm-style group setting as opposed to 4 children or 2 children per room. Down in Mexico, we've seen the successful modeling with up to 12 to 16 children in the room, and that allows, it's a much easier way to supervise, so those details, our designer that Jean has partnered with, Hassan is his name, a Christian man that Jean started at the university with, who was a construction engineering student alongside of Jean. They became good friends, and Hassan is a Christian looking at this as a ministry for himself as well. All the designs, the drawings, the cost estimation, he has donated all of that already. And so Hassan's been working with Pastor Jean to tweak and change details. But the current goal that we're looking at is to build the dormitory or orphanage and the sanitary block, which is about $200,000. The money would not all go immediately to Madagascar, but rather a small 40%, I believe, is what's needed to start the project, and then another 40% when it's over halfway complete, with a kind of similar payment schedule that many of us would be familiar with here in the United States for building projects. What questions are hanging out there? And Pastor, would you come back up? I'm going to give you this microphone.
Might be on the slide you weren't able to show, but how many kids are you hoping to house at a time, and how long will they stay?
Yeah, thank you for your question. At the beginning, we were looking at like 32 kids. Then because of a change, we just added after my visit in Mexico, so we can house like up to 50 kids. But that is nothing actually compared to the number of kids there, because when the team from Shepherd of the Hill went to Madagascar, when they arrived, like about 1 hour we arrived at the site, like they counted the number of kids like more than 400. And then a few hours later, there's like 100 kids still coming. and maybe it was like over than 600 kids. So that's our biggest challenge, to select these 50 kids from. This is just the children who came to this place. They are still children staying in the village, and because I work in different villages, and there's lots of children in those villages. So that's part of our challenge, like how we select the children, and without the others feeling being rejected or something like that. But that's how we can start. We don't have the possibility yet.
This is more of a statement. You know, when we called Aaron here 10 years ago, he had been with you the year before, and I can't help but think tonight that there was a reason we got Pastor Aaron here so we could meet Jean. And then you called him to task. I love that part.
Just a quick question. Other than Shepherd here, how many other financial partners are helping support your most worthy vision?
Okay, so far, Shepherd of the Hill is working with us, and part of my trip here also is visiting friends I met in England, not studying together, but as a member of a congregation together there, Chris and Ellie Holland. They live in Atwater, Minnesota, and they invited me to go to their congregation also to make a short presentation about House of Hope. And I haven't got any response yet, kind of a direct response, but they are kind of happy to, to see the work in Madagascar. They have actually supported outreach project in Madagascar, and they are still doing that now. And my belief is that they will continue to do it, but soon they might have a meeting, and then out of that meeting, a decision about supporting House of Hope.
All right, other questions? Yes, me?
How will you select the children?
Okay, two things. We will look at the children if they don't have dad and mom anymore and they need support, which means that their family or relative might not be able to support them. And that's one thing. Another thing also is that they might still have their parents, but the parents is very poor, and that's kind of cause their life in danger. Like, this is something out of my experience. I had a dad, I had a mom, but I didn't feel that. I have to say sorry to my dad if he was there. I didn't feel that being loved by him. He was too busy with his divorce and trouble, and I have never seen my dad hugging me or something like that. So it's not about blood connection. Parenthood is not about blood connection. It's about love and care. And that's the reason I didn't hesitate to call my uncle. This man, I don't have any blood relation with him, but I received love and care from him, and I called him my father. And that means that even though the children might have parents, if you really see that they need help, and we have to take them to the House of Hope. So those two things is very important.
Okay, great questions. What else?
I have a question. So there's roughly 600 children in the area. So like, where are they sleeping tonight? Like, what did they eat today? Like, what are the needs there?
Okay, so in a village in Madagascar, each village has a chief actually. And the chief, usually the dad, or the eldest in the village, because usually the dad and his son living in a village because the daughter get married and move to another village, and they build the house, their own house. But when one of the brother died, their children still live in their house. They are not kicked out from the house of their dad, but they usually go everywhere to find food to eat. And probably they go to when they know that the uncle is preparing food about to eat, they just go there. They don't ask, like, can I eat with you? And if they have problem with that, they go to another village, and sometimes they steal, especially sugar cane. I did that also, actually. And if you feel very hungry and you just find the solution, and we often steal somebody's sugar cane, because by eating sugar cane, if you can eat like a long one like that, and then you feel full, and until the next day, something like that. That's what they do. But that activity is very dangerous because it can go to another one. And from sugarcane might end up to zebu, which is kind of a cow in Madagascar, and might end up to something very serious. So they are still around, but some kids go to the town, not city, to the town, and beg money and do some work activity like carrying. If somebody needs somebody moving stuff and need someone to carry it, and that's part of the things they do there. And unfortunately for young girls, then the family let them go to get married very early in their age, 13, 14, and get pregnant. Then and quite few died because the body is not prepared for baby yet. And that's that kind of thing they like.
How about school? Those 600 kids, do they go to school?
No. In the village, like, because this is they knew when they team from the shepherd, the hill coming, and they came from the village. Just, yeah, they don't have school. Yeah.
I understand, this would be a first step, but once these buildings go up and you have that many kids in a place, what does the operating funds look like? How does that work for you?
I'll chime in just based on some conversation John was sharing with me that the cost of a teacher's salary is 300,000 RER a month, which current dollars to RER is $75 a month. So even if teachers, you've got 6 classes, or even if you double that for caregivers and then you add security, maybe 20 full-time staff, all in ballpark, we're talking $25,000 a year operating costs once they're full operating, in full capacity.
That's food and everything?
Rough estimate, looking at salaries because food costs are so small compared to salaries.
Yeah. Because the teacher actually do not live in the orphanage. They just come there to teach and leave. But like security guard and people who do their laundry, the kids' laundry, and also like staff like doing work inside, the caretaker or supervisor for kids, and that's kind of we have to give them food because they stay there for 24 hours. Yeah.
Okay, I'm probably the only person who's wondering this, but the wall around, is that just for looks, or is there an actual safety issue? Is it a safety issue?
It is, yes. It is safety.
What dangers are out there?
The kids coming to the House of Hope have their own background. They didn't have parents to tell them the truth and what they should behave. And at night they might just go out of the room and try to go away, and it would be a big responsibility of a House of Hope. And if they disappear from the House of Hope, the government might change that context, like, oh, you just sell the kids to somebody, and I don't want to end up in prison. I want to help the kids. So it's security. It's security, basically.
Is that in and out to keep people out as well?
Yes, yeah. And also, of course, for somebody coming, yeah, that's what coming to House of Hope, yeah.
I was just wondering if, when you look at it, I know it's a vision right now, it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. Is it close to the city or like a church or stores or anything?
Yeah, it is, yeah, it's a good question, good question. It is in a suburb of a town. Yeah, it is in a suburb of a town. We have looked at place inside of a town, but the orphanage needs big space. Even the space is really small. I just found that also when I visited EV in excuse me. Yeah, our place is almost like the same, like the big room. They have the dining room, almost the same size of their dining room. Maybe I exaggerated, but yeah, it's quite. So it's very difficult to find a big space in this. But this as long as somebody there, as we call it, security, we believe that nothing is to worry about. Yeah.
Well, I want to honor your time, and I want to say thank you to Jean one more time. So, Pastor Jean, thank you for being here. We have plenty of opportunity to ask Jean more questions either this evening. He'll also be here on Sunday. You'll have a chance to see and say good morning to Jean as well. We have, it looks like about maybe 11 pizzas, but who's counting? Ready to pass out on your way as you leave tonight. If a few slices of pizza would be a blessing to you, we'll perhaps find some paper plates and some plastic wrap, and we can start wrapping up some slices. Pro tip, cast iron skillet, little olive oil on the stove top while you're preheating your broiler. 60 seconds on the stove top, about 2 minutes under the broiler, and it's going to be better than fresh. Don't get me started on pizza. Could we bow our heads and conclude with prayer? We pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings that you shower on your children. Lord, that blessing, first and foremost, the blessing of life and new life in your Son, Jesus. Lord, we thank you that we have brothers and sisters all around the world. And we thank you for our brother Jean here tonight. We lift up his bride, Ina, and their daughters, Hannah and Sarah, asking for your protection over them, for your protection over Jean until he is home again. Lord, may you continue to bless the ministry of the House of Hope Madagascar as they seek to bring hope to children in need. Lord, we are your children, and we thank you that you continue to pour out your blessings to fulfill our needs of body and soul and mind and spirit. Lord, thank you. We give you thanks and honor and praise this night. Go with us now as we depart, as we head to our homes. May your blessing go with us this week as we pray it all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, have a great evening. Thanks for being here, everyone.